Hello and welcome to the Eventual Knits podcast. My name is Leah and I am so happy to be here today. It's been a few weeks since I have recorded for several reasons. The first one mostly being that I only have a few hours in a day and I just haven't really made the time. Especially right now as we're getting into like crunch time for the wedding, I am able to make space for making food and getting movement and relaxing, and recording a podcast and editing takes time that I just feel like I don't have during the day. So I think about it literally every week. Don't think that I don't, because I do. I constantly am like, oh, maybe I'll be able to record today. And then I can't. But I'm making it happen. I have, as always, a time boxed amount. I have about 40 minutes that I can record a podcast in before I have to go pick up some election judge stuff. It's so weird because this is my first time being a co-head judge, and unlike The Office, where it is co-manager and co-manager, and they're supposed to be equals, for election judging, at least in Minnesota, head judges are higher than co-head judges, and I have heard nothing from my head judge, and I didn't want to have them expect me to like pick up the materials and then I have a shitty time slot. So I picked a time slot, and I don't know if they're just assuming, they're like, oh cool, co-head judge just got it, cool. But if I were the head judge, I would reach out and be like, hey, you don't have to do that, I'll go pick the things up, because I've done this before. Me, as this is my first time co-head judging, I have not done it before and I'm kind of annoyed. But anyway, I have to leave in 40 minutes to go pick up the materials for election judging. Did you know that you're supposed to pick things up early as a co-head judge, and then, or as a head judge, and you keep it until election day? Most things, not everything. Like you can't, of course, take like the ballot box. In Minnesota, the ballot boxes are gigantic and electronic, or they submit data electronically, but also take your physical ballot and hold it in this big giant drawer thing. But anyway, what am I wearing? I am wearing the Backlit tee by Telly Bean Knits. This I did was a test for her and I love it. It is such a good sweater. I made the sleeves a little bit longer than she had called for in the initial pattern. It's too big for sure. I would have, it's interesting, it's like boxy. So I would have made it longer. But I also think part of it is just like the yarn that I used. It's got this beautiful detail and then some light stitch, and I mean, I love it. It's a very, very good and very comfortable sweater. I just think I would make it longer today. But obviously I love wearing it. I think I'm gonna do the same thing that I've been doing to all of my necklines, where I like single crochet or slip stitch, slip stitch through it to tighten it up. But otherwise, I mean, weather has been super nice. Yesterday it was really cold, but today it is 46 right now, Fahrenheit. Yeah, let's jump into the knitting. So, you might remember from a few weeks ago that I finished like the bag part of my like granny square bag that I'm making for myself. I also finished both straps in, what did we call this? I can't remember. It's on the last episode, some kind of stitch. I assume that this is like the right length. Grab. It's getting stuck in my sweater. I can't grab it. There we go. So like have it hang down a couple inches. Like I basically want it to tuck under my arm because I have no shoulders. So I need to like secure, like pull things down into my shoulder, otherwise it just falls off. And I don't like crossbody very much. It's like too in my face, too like, I don't know, in my face. I don't like it. Like I feel like I'm choking So I finished those. I haven't attached them yet because I am going to line my bag. So I bought fabric for the bag and I bought like all the materials for it. I'm doing a no-sew lining, so I'll let you know how that goes. I might sew. So the way that they want you to do it is you take the two pieces, you take the fabric and you fold it, and then you sort of put your project on the fabric, and then you use a rotary cutter and cut around, like a pizza cutter basically, cut around, and then you sew the bottom pieces together to make it sort of a firm bottom instead of sort of like a loose, I almost want to say shallower bottom. Like there's obviously a reason, right, that you cut it and then sew it instead of just leaving it just sort of roundy. And in the tutorial that I watched, they did use I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically like an auger tool kind of, where it's like spaced, more ridged, and then you cut along that, and then it makes holes, and then you crochet into those holes. I might, instead of crocheting into the bottom portion, since no one's gonna see that anyway, I might hand sew that, because I like, that's fine. I am fine hand sewing. So a part that's not going to be seen, but I actually do kind of like the way that the it's single crochet with slip stitch, chain one slip stitch, I believe, and then you attach it to the bag that way. So I bought all the stuff. I'm gonna try it and then see if I can get the handles on, and we'll see what I think of it. But in terms of like actual work, this is as far as I got, was making these two straps, which was fun. I think they're the same length. Yeah, I got them the same length. Again, I didn't really specifically follow a pattern, but I will link to the granny square bag pattern that showed like how to set up the squares, and then I just did my own thing to get the squares together, because I used the Red Heart all-in-one granny square yarn for it. This is like what you pay for is what you get, and I'm happy. The only other thing that I've been working on knitting wise is my wedding shawl. So I am a decent amount further. This is the Jacaranda lace street shawl, or street lace shawl, something like that. Jacaranda street lace shawl. It is a I don't want to say one skein, but it kind of is I mean, I guess it's designed to be basically a one skein project. It's like a one size pattern. And I had a friend ask me like, how big is it going to be? And I'm like, I don't know, because my row gauge tends to be shorter, so I feel like the depth will not be as long, but my stitch gauge is pretty big, so it might be wider. So I have no idea, and since it's like fully lace, I feel like it's gonna grow a ton too. So it looks really small right now, and I have like a little bit less than a third left to go on it. I have like 20 some rows, or some, not 20 some, double that, 40 some, like on the way back, I think. And it is beaded. This is my first beaded project. Maybe I'll insert some B-roll of it, but I'm super enjoying it so far. I wanted the beads to be subtle. They just add like a nice little bit of drape. They're these like really light pink beads, and I'm starting to get a little bit into the darker purple, like not the darkest. You can see that it's pretty light still. We still have a ways to go before we get to the actual darker purple, but we're starting to get into a slightly deeper shade, and it's going super well. I only had one row that I truly like, I guess you could say messed up on. I think what happened was I forgot a couple of yarn overs, and it was ending one chart and starting a new chart, and so it was like ending like this section basically and moving on to this section, which is nothing like the other sections, right? And so I wasn't really sure. When you're doing lace, a lot of times when you're going through the row, it's like whenever you, for example, do the knit two togethers, you can tell generally if you're in the right spot, you know, it flows, and you know that you need to be doing the knit two together with starting with a certain stitch and then yarning over, that kind of thing. And so you can tell when you're off. And so it's easy-ish to be like, oh, let me double check and make sure that I did this right, because it's not looking like it's gonna line up. But because it was a whole new chart with a whole new pattern, it was like, this doesn't feel right, but I don't know, because it's a different pattern. But it didn't work out. And of course, it's so funny. Whenever I make a mistake, it almost always is at the beginning of whatever that row is. So I always have to tink back the full ass row. And in this case, I had to tink back 2 rows because I had done the purl all the way back to the next pattern chart. But I was able to figure it out. I can't remember if that's I don't think it was the same time. Actually, maybe on the next row, maybe even the next chart, I can't remember. I somehow got 10 stitches off, which really was that when I was looking at the chart, my eyes just skipped ahead 10 stitches, and so I just had messed that up. And so again, I had to tink all the way back, because of course it was like at the very beginning. But the good thing is that again, I'm separating each pattern repeat with stitch markers. The only thing is that sometimes between rows, you'll need to, you know, do a knit two together or a whatever it's called, the pass 2 over a knit, so you're working with 3 stitches. Sometimes like that overlaps the stitch marker itself, so you have to take off stitch marker and then move 1 stitch back or forth depending on what the stitch is. But that doesn't mean you messed up, it's just how the lace pattern works, because the pattern itself doesn't tell you to put the stitch markers separating the repeats, probably for that reason, but it makes the most sense to me, and that's so much easier to keep track of than just trying to like keep it straight in your head. Especially as we're getting into like the high 200s plus of stitches, I need to be able to double check the repeats and see where I'm at. But this is going to be a shawl that, sorry for kicking that I'm making for my wedding, that I'm gonna wear at my wedding. Steve and I joked that if this one is too shallow or like not big enough, that I will give this to him and he'll wear it. Hi, Nero. He's stuck on this side of the one of our baby gates. I mean, he can get out and he can come over here, but he wants to come through, and that's just not happening. So funny. Anyway, that if I don't like it the way that, like if it's not the way that I want it to be, that I'll give it to him and he'll figure out a way to wear it at our wedding, and I will make myself a different one and we'll just have matching shawls, because I want it to be perfect. And I didn't realize that at the very beginning, the pattern said use either a US 6 or a US 7, and I think in my head, I had read that as start with a US 6 and then switch to a 7, and then forgot about it. And so I knit like the entire first half in a 6, and then I was like, damn it, I wanted to make it in a 7 because I want it to be bigger, because my road gauge is short and I want it to be like big. And when I tell you, some of those projects are just, you know, they go to like maybe your mid back, they're pretty short, and then some of them are gigantic, like just monstrous shawls. And it's not like people are adding repeats or any of that kind of thing. I truly think it's just the way that people knit, and then of course some of it blocking how they block, but like some of them's truly absolutely massive. Nope, Nero figured his way out. He's over here. But either way, I really like it. I mean, I love the colors. I love how it's working out so far. I'm making good progress, and I hope to be done with that in the relative near future. I also have this cute little stitch marker that matches so perfectly to the project. It's a little kitty by the scruff. Have the cat because he's jealous, and that's mostly what I've been working on in my free time. And then the last thing that I've been working on is this basically plain stockinette lace weight silk cowl for Steve. So this is 100% lace. I think it's a Claudia hand paint. And I have been working on this in the car. So since last episode, I have made another like 1.5 inches of progress. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move that little calcifer up to the current row. I did start a purl row, so the beginning and the end are garter. So just a few rows of garter. So I am getting pretty low-ish on yarn. It's like hard to tell because it's like smaller skein at this point, but I don't want to risk running out of yarn. So I'm just gonna go for 5 rows, I think, of garter. That's my goal, and then binding off on the 6th row. Binding off on the 6th row. And hopefully that's enough. And then I'll block it, and then Steve will be able to wear it, and it will be beautiful. I'm holding 2 different yarns together. This is what they look like separately. And then this is what they look like in the cowl. I tried so hard not to break the yarn ever, but if you've ever worked with 100% silk, it is so felty. It likes to get knotted so easily, and I have a really decent amount of patience with unknotting yarn, unless I'm winding it. I really hate unknotting yarn when I'm winding, but like if I have to, I will do my best. But it just like, I don't know what happened. Something happened, so I had to lose a chunk of one of the yarns. So one of them might have a little bit less than the other, but I feel like I did pretty good for how many yards are in like a lace weight silk skein. So yeah, that's basically everything that I am knitting. I did pick up a test knit. I don't think it's a secret test for Stephanie Lotven or Telly Bean Knits. It is another spring tee. So I feel like the sleeves are actually basically about this long. It is a cropped or like semi-cropped. I don't know yet if I'm going to do it cropped or not. Maybe I will. I offered to knit the size 1 and give it to my friend Sean. It's a DK sweater. But Stephanie said that she wanted me to knit my size first, or she didn't say it like that, but I initially said like, oh, I'll do a size 3, or if you want more variety, because most people that test for her tend to request sizes 3 and 4. Yeah, I think that those are like the primary ones that like fill up the first. And so like, for example, on the Boneyard Sweethearts, I offered to test, I think, the size 2 first. I can't remember if it had closed already, my size, but I was like, I know my friend Sean's gonna love it, so I'm gonna make it. And then we ended up with our twinsies sweaters for Halloween, so that was great. But yeah, I picked up that test. It's an 8-week test. It just opened yesterday, so I'm gonna be working on that as well. So we'll see how my projects go. Otherwise, I do still want to be making more granny squares for Steve's bag. And I like that my bag is a nice test to see about lining it, because Steve's for sure needs to be lined. And granny squares are nice and easy. Again, as I mentioned before, I don't have the issues that a lot of other people have with making the granny square, in terms of like the tensioning and stuff to make it line up. Like, you just got to find the rhythm for that particular skein. I do notice that there was a difference between the two skeins that I'm working with. So like the one color that I had a specific rhythm on like the first 3 rounds. I would knit as loosely as I can, basically, and then the last 2 rounds crochet, and the last 2 rounds I'd have to crochet pretty tight. In this skein that I'm using for Steve's, the way that it's dyed, it seems like the first 2 rounds quite loose, but then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds I need to be a lot tighter on. it's just interesting. Like, I just find it interesting more than anything. Like, I think if you're a fast crocheter, it's probably super annoying, but since I'm a slow crocheter, it's like, cool, whatever. I don't have to weave in the ends. This is a good trade-off for me. But otherwise, in my free time, when I'm not like cooking or doing some sort of movement, which is like weightlifting, or I've started playing more ITG again, which is great. When I can, it's just like, I try to use it as more of like a HIIT cardio than like straight steady state cardio. But it's super fun, obviously. Like, dance game machines are super, super fun. I have a full like arcade dance machine in my basement. And it's really good exercise. I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls. I'm like 45 hours in. My character's level 78, and it's been a lot of fun. I switched up my weapon once I realized that I had outplayed my first weapon's usefulness. I've been streaming it on Twitch, not as a streamer per se, but because me and a couple of my friends like to stream games for each other so that the other person can watch. And like we can like see it in real time, and Twitch saves videos or saves recordings of your streams for a couple weeks. So it's nice that like if we can't catch a stream and we want to watch one of our friends playing a game, then we can go back and watch that VOD later. But not like, I'm not like trying to be a streamer. It's just like little temporary recording of my playthrough. And because my friend Ben is playing Dark Souls as well, it's funny to watch how, first of all, like where we each are, and then like our different play styles, and like he prefers weapons that you just like poke or whatever, and I prefer like really massive heavy weapons or like big swings on swords and stuff. So I used like the gargoyle axe for such a long time, and now I have the Black Knight sword. And then as I was going through this undead area, I used a gigantic club that I hated, but it's important. And then Steve had been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon for a while, but then he has to drop that again for now so that we can play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which just came out today. I'm so excited. He's going to play that tonight. He already got it installed. That's very exciting. I'm so excited. Also I've been reading too. That's another like time-consuming activity, right? Is reading. So I a couple weeks ago went to my dad's house and we watched the first part 1 of Dune, and he read the book when he was a kid. It actually, I think, came out the year he was born, but he read it as like a 12-year-old and really, really liked it. And so then he asked if I would come over and watch the movie with him, and I'd never read the books, and didn't know a lot about it. I knew that they were well liked and like good science fiction, but after seeing the movie, it made me really want to read the books. And I am a little over halfway in this first book. I think there's 6 in like the main series. There might be more offshoots, kind of like Ender's Game, where the Ender series had a bunch of, that's my coffee pot, other offshoots as well. So this is broken up into 3 books, I think. And I mean, it's like, you know, book 1, like part 1, part 2, part 3. I'm in book 2. Looks like I'm getting closest to the end of that. And then, yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like it is pretty true to, the movie is pretty true to the book. And I think they did really good with most of the castings, except for Jessica, the mom. They made her like very outwardly emotional and like kind of bitchy in the movie, just like always barking at the main character, Paul, Timothy Chalamet's character, which is like not like her at all in the book. In the book, she has like a lot of emotional depth, but she's not like a shrew. Like they make her very shrewish in the movie. And I don't know if that's because they're trying to sort of show like the, I don't know, like discipline and power, but she like literally defied her religion to even have him. So I don't know. But otherwise the movie is pretty true to the book thus far. Part 2 just came out of the movie and I'm gonna go see that. That'll be fun. In terms of like the book and the movie, I am almost at the part where the first movie ends. Like I'm just about there. Like, in fact, I think I am there, like where the first movie ends. And so you think there's 6 books in like the main series, and this is where the first movie ends. Is really funny, actually. Yeah, I'm liking it so far. I think it's fun and interesting. Love a good book. I've been meaning to talk for so many episodes, not that many since like December, but I listened to the audiobook of Daisy Jones and the Six in, I think, December or early January, and it's really, really good. If you like listening to like faux, like documentary style interviews with people, it's fully cast, which is really cool. It takes a little while to like know the voices to the characters, and for a while they do, or it depends on like how quickly it's changing between the voices, but like sometimes it'll be like Daisy, and then Daisy will say, and then it'll be like, you know, Rob, and then it'll start talking like that kind of thing. But after a while, sometimes it stops naming the character, and like there's like 4 men, and sometimes it's like, which guy is this again? I think that I would have enjoyed the book by reading it on my own, like by reading it instead of listening to it, but I think that having a voice acted cast helps add a level of like depth and like realism that you might not be able to capture by reading in the book, and it being like, sometimes it'd be like a one-liner from a character that was commenting on a story that someone else had told, and then it'd go back to a different character, and like I think that could be jarring for some people. So listening to it was really cool. I think they did a very good job. It was edited really well. The characters were very convincing. Like, it felt like you were really listening to like a VH1 behind the music sort of thing. So I really enjoyed it. I know that I think Daisy Jones and the Six had like a brief moment in the sun because the movie came out or something. But I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed that. I listened to it on Audible. And then I also have on my my to read list are both of the I can't remember like what the full title is, but they just, in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe, they had recently released the Avatar Kyoshi books, which were very good. And then I think the same author just released the Avatar Young Chen books, and that is the Avatar before Kyoshi. And so very interested to hear about that Avatar's life. And it's a set of 2 books, and my friend borrowed them to me or lent them to me, and I'm excited to read those as well. And I'm sure they'll be a lot faster reads than Dune. Like, Dune is like this teeny tiny text. I'm a pretty quick reader, but it's quite dense. My dad said that, you know, I mean, Dune was written or published in 1967, and, you know, he pointed out that a lot of media since then has been a lot based off of it or taken elements from it. So he specifically pointed out Star Wars, and I can totally get that, like the political intrigue, sort of like the past that some of the characters follow, some of the morality stuff. I also think that it does have a lot of similar things to do with with Avatar, like with basically like tapping into previous avatars, and yeah, there's just several things that I see in current other lore that feels very similar to this book and how it's played out. So anyway, that's what I've been reading and whatnot. For shows, we actually started watching I finished Sex Lives of College Girls. So good. They recently announced that they are having a season 3. I think it's going to come out next year, maybe. I think that they might be filming this year and it'll come out next year. So that's exciting. I'm very curious to see how the next year, so season 2 ends with them finishing their first year of college, and like there's a lot of big changes that are coming up, and so I would have been sad if it would have ended. It would have been very much like High Fidelity, which was on Hulu, where it's like, no, what's gonna happen next? And that show was canceled for no reason. It was a very good show, and they announced a season 3, aka the first or beginning of the second year of college. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But I started Abbott Elementary, and I think we're on season 2 right now. I know it's very popular because like the new episodes are still coming out, right? I like it. I think it's enjoyable, but as a former teacher, it's also very stressful. Like, I don't like the glorification of making do with what you have as a teacher. Like, I totally understand people's pride in their work. I don't think there's enough ego in the show. A lot of teachers have a lot of ego. But I truly, like, it's funny and in some cases accurate, and I know that you know, after the show gets its feet under it, it's much more about like the situations and whatnot, and not just about like the plights of actual teachers in America, but it's also like too on the nose, and like it's not funny. Like, teachers should get paid more, and classrooms should have things that are not purchased by teachers. Like, anyway, but anyway, the show is funny. The characters are great. I love the actors. They're all very good. So I'm glad we started watching that. When we have shows on, again, like, we're not usually like, I mean, when I watch a movie, I might be like knitting or crocheting, but watching a show, it's not like we're usually sitting in front of the show watching it. Like, a lot of times, it will be like on the side. We have like 2 big TVs, and one TV will have a game on it, and the other one will have the show. We don't usually sit and watch a show and that's all we're doing. It really depends on like the density of the material, or like how much you really need to be like watching. But if it's something I've never seen before, I like to be doing something that I can be like looking to like get the, you know, pacing and the characters' faces and how they carry themselves, and, you know, any amount of physical comedy or other movements, body movements. But Abbott Elementary is pretty light. Otherwise, I got a new plant. I bought it from Target. It's a peperomia. It's a cute little plant. It just made me really happy. It's technically, I think, from the succulent family, and which means they way overwatered it at Target. It was so wet. It's like still wet. And I bought this like 3 weeks ago. It's drying out now finally, but we need it to be a little bit drier. It's also growing a little dandelion, little weed. I gotta get that out. But otherwise, so cute. A little new plant for my little collection. In the grand scheme of plants, I usually actually tend to be an overwaterer versus an underwaterer, and I've worked very hard at not being an overwaterer. And of all the plants that I've ever had, I think I've only actually killed or was given a lemon or like an impossible to actually keep alive plant like 2 or 3 times out of all the plants that I have. Like, I've been doing pretty good in terms of keeping my plants alive. And I miss Grim so much. My beautiful, amazing black cat. I miss him so much. And Nero does too. But Nero doesn't eat plants, and Grim did. And so I can put plants and get plants that were not safe to get before. So like, my next idea that I really want for a plant is a monstera. I want a monstera so bad. I love plants. Because Nero won't eat it, and I'll just have to keep it where Quinn can't get to it. Yeah, Quinn is super mobile now. He crawls everywhere, and it's so good. I love it so much. It's like really funny if he ever gets, like, he can move pretty fast even though he like lurches around. He doesn't like just completely cross crawl. He like throws himself forward with his one leg instead of crawling with both of them on the ground. Like, if he moves really fast and like gets to the cat food and grabs a handful of it, or okay, I ran out of phone starch. Okay. Anyway, super mobile, super funny. He is 10 months now, which is so wild, and I'm so happy. He's almost a year old. Oh, a couple of things. Over here, you can see a cute little 3D printed little T-Rex, a little heart from my nephew for Valentine's Day. And then also a little 3D printed like rose turtle. Adorable. I love getting those cute little things for my nephew. He just turned 7. A couple of things I want to show. So Quinn's daycare does tons of projects. Okay, narrow. They do lots of art, like lots of sensory activities and lots of art. And two of the ones that I wanted to show from this month where they did a cute little firefly fingerprint thing. That's adorable. And a little ladybug. It's just so funny imagining him doing those at school. He loves school. He still struggles half the week to take any naps at school. But he usually figures it out by the end of the week. But he doesn't have daycare on Fridays, so it's like by the time he finally figures it out, it's like he's out for the next 3 days. But he loves his like main daycare teacher so much. He also loves us so much. Like he cannot contain himself when he sees us. It's so cute. Yeah, so this weekend we are going to a food tasting for our like wedding catering stuff. That's exciting. And yeah, this is about it. We had a couple birthday parties for nephews and another one coming up, and then Quinn's birthday's in April. And yeah, just trying to get ready for the wedding and trying to squeeze in knitting where I can. And I'm happy that you keep coming back, and anyone new, so happy to see you. Welcome. I will probably be posting on Instagram at miss_LJV progress of my test knit when it's finished. Probably not before that. And I just realized I didn't post any pictures for Quinn's 10-month on my Instagram. I posted it on Facebook, but maybe I'll do that for his 11-month, which is in just a couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy warm winter. I think it's the opposite again for a lot of other places, but it's been super warm overall with a few cold days here and there. We even like took Quinn to the park. I mean, we went to the park a couple days ago and it was like packed everywhere. Like there's like so many people playing basketball. There were people who set up badminton in the tennis courts. There were people on the field. There were so many kids on the playground. There were lots of kids at the skate park. Like just everyone was outside, had to take advantage of that good weather. And so we took Quinn, and it was fun putting him in the swing again now that he's a little bit older, because the last time we put him in a swing he was like 6 months old, barely. So that's fun. I'm like very, very excited that we're like on the cusp of toddler stage. But that's it for me. I need to get going. I hope to see you sooner than 3 weeks, but it's a busy time, busy season. I'm always happy to see you when I can, though. Talk to you soon. Bye.